Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum to everyone that's joined us this evening, and we absolutely are excited about you being here. My name is Muhammad Mahdi, and I'm just one of the phenomenal hosts that are going to be sharing with you this evening. This is our official pre-launch of our international live stream series entitled Black History, Divine Consciousness, World Mastery. And my goodness, do we have a series lined up for you. Now, before I even get started, let me bring my distinguished co-panelists to the front for a brief introduction, and then we'll go through some housekeeping rules so that we all can stay connected and have fun and learn during this live stream. On my left, that way, that would be Yusuf Farouk. Ustad Yusuf, please come up and give an introduction, where you're from and why you're excited about being here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. My name is Yusuf Jabi Gasamma. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. Currently live in the Atlanta, Georgia metro area. I'm very excited about this launch because we're going to be bringing some very exciting material. We're going to have interviews. We're going to be bringing educational material. And we look forward to doing this and sharing this with you all, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Fantastic. Next, we have Imam Dawood Walid.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Dawood with you from the Motor City from Detroit, Michigan. And I'm one of the imams in the community here in Michigan, as well as a senior fellow at the Auburn Seminary. I'm very excited to be with our distinguished brothers here in our launch during this important month, Black History Month, in which we will be delving into many areas coming up in the future months, inshallah, relating to spirituality, economics, the social life, and a number of other issues relating to Black mastery. So I'm looking forward to being involved in this noble endeavor.
Fantastic. And our dear Imam Muhammad Mendez.
Good evening, everyone. Greetings of peace. I am your brother Adeyinka Muhammad Mendes, and I'm a native of Dayton, Ohio, currently living in central New Jersey. I'm really looking forward to this monthly broadcast of Black History, Divine Consciousness, and World Mastery. We are living at a critical time in our history as a people and as human beings. And I think that this, and I hope that this effort to share information, to bridge peoples, will be edifying and will allow you and I to do and take advantage of the opportunities that this particular time in history afford us for greatness.
Fantastic. Absolutely awesome. So, dear family, we want to let you know that this live stream is absolutely live. It is not only are we live, but you are live also. If you look to the just below this picture, just below your viewing screen, you're going to see a comment stream. That comment stream is live. That means that we absolutely invite you, encourage you to ask questions, to give comment on anything that you hear us discuss. And we are monitoring that all the time. So we're going to bring your questions forward because we want your input. Let's see, if you are joining us from your phone, you'll probably have to click in the menu, the phone menu, to see the comment stream, but we absolutely want you to join us in this discussion because it's a discussion. Let's get into it. The meaning behind our title. The title for this live stream series, again, is Black History, Divine Consciousness, World Mastery. So I'm going to go back to our panelists, starting with Imam Mendez, so that we each give you our we give you what we intend to bring and what this meaning is behind why we chose this title and what we plan to deliver through this live stream series. Imam Mendez, if you would start us off, please.
Oh, thank you very much. There are basically three themes that we plan to address every month. We may address one and not the others, or we might address all of them. Black history, divine consciousness, and world mastery. Black history speaks to the necessity for Black people, people of African descent on the African continent and in the diaspora from North America all the way to China, to have a strong and deep sense of historical consciousness. It is historical consciousness that nourishes our roots, that inspires us, that shows us the greatness of those who came before us. It enables us to stand on their shoulders. James Baldwin once said, "Know whence you came." When you know whence you came, there are no limitations to what you can do. And that's really the spirit that we're invoking Black history in. This is not about pumping our chest to say, you know, our ancestors did this or did that. It is really an examination of their accomplishments, an examination of areas that needed to be improved, opportunities for us to build upon, so that we're not living our economic, political, social, spiritual lives at a level below what they left for us. Divine consciousness, our second theme, relates to the need for a spiritual awakening, a spiritual grounding in our indigenous paths that God has given us, revealed to the infallible prophets that are universal to all human beings. Divine consciousness, we feel, is one of the things that's missing from a lot of attempts to revive our community. Divine consciousness is our awareness of the Creator and our bringing that awareness into every facet of our lives, so that we go into the world, we contribute with justice, with compassion, and with a sense of selflessness and transcendence. And that brings us to our last theme, world mastery. With historical consciousness, Black history, coupled with divine consciousness, gives you all the tools, gives you the experiences, gives you the support that you need to not only master yourself, but to master whatever environment you're in around the world. We are descendants of a people who once ruled and once benefited and served humanity. And the time has come once again when people in the African diaspora are waking up to this responsibility and to this opportunity to master the world, not to lord over it, but to master the world in order to serve it. There's a great saying of one of the noble prophets, Prophet Muhammad, God bless him. He said, "The servant of a people is their leader." And so servant leadership really encapsulates this last theme. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Imam Dawood, please, if you would share with us divine Black history, divine consciousness, world mastery. What are we delivering? What are the people in store for?
Well, I'm sure that most of the people in the viewing audience are aware of the saying that you can't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. And it's very important for people of African descent, not just here in the Americas, but even on the continent that may have been severed from some of our history, that we have discussions and reconnect back with our noble lineage and also our history, so that we can look back at the past and see the great accomplishments that people of African lineage have done, not just for African civilization, but for the advancement of civilization throughout the world, that we may be inspired, that we may build a better world right here and now. In terms of divine consciousness, one of the great sages of the world, one of the saintly people, by the name of Imam Ali, he made a famous statement that says, whoever knows himself most certainly knows his Lord, or we could say whoever knows herself most certainly knows her Lord. So in our discussions, we hope to have reflection and look at ourselves, to look at some of the maladies and some of the ailments that may afflict us as a people, so that we may then turn to our loving God, our nourisher, sustainer, our creator, so that we may beseech our Lord, but also to look at the spiritual remedies and solutions that our Lord inspired through the prophets and through the sages, that we may rise ourselves up to higher spiritual stations. In terms of world mastery, I don't have much more to say about my beloved brother, Sheikh Mohammed Mendez, in terms of that, but I will say just very briefly, in the last 90 seconds or so, that I just got back from a 2-week visit to the Republic of Ghana, and meeting some of the noble people from the Asante tribe, and the great contributions that the mighty Asante tribe and the Fanti people did, and what they contributed, where the people established government, established rule, high culture and civilization. And as this type of like servant leadership that our brother Sheikh Mendez talked about, and we want to have discussions about how we can implement that saying of the Prophet Muhammad, may God bless his soul, that a servant of a people is their servant, a leader of the people is their servant.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ustad,
Yes.
Yusuf Farouk, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Oftentimes, when we bring this topic to the forefront, you get feedback as if this is not something worthy of our attention. And I just like to point out that our Creator, he says, speaking to us, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. I created you from a male and from a female. And then he goes on to say, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ, that I have made you into different ethnicities, to different, you can also by extension say different languages, different cultures, different people, li ta'arafu, in order for you to know one another. And it's imperative, in order for you to know about others, you have to first know about yourself. You have to first know who you are. And in order for other peoples to know you, you have to again know who you are in order to show them who you are as a people. And then Allah goes on to say, Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. So like Sheikh Mindi said before, this is not an exercise in self-aggrandizement or chest beating. It's a exercise of healing. We want to bring this to our community as a form of healing. And Allah says, the most noble of you with him are the pious, which is part of the connection with divine consciousness, teaching our spiritual legacy as it relates to our legacy here in North America and the diaspora, and also as it relates to our legacy on the African continent. The two go hand in hand. We don't have one against the other. We don't say our history begins as a people with our sojourn in the diaspora, but our history actually goes beyond that. And we have a wealth of information to draw upon and to share. And we look forward to sharing this, and we pray that our Creator blesses our endeavor. And we pray that what we bring is positive, and what we bring is uplifting and building. And we hope that it will lead to world mastery and to programs of benefit for people all over the world. And we also want to bridge connections between people in the diaspora and with people on the African continent. A lot of times we have preconceived notions about each other. So we want to break those barriers and those preconceived notions, and we want to come together for the benefit of all of humanity.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Bismillah, I just want to add a few words to this topic, this title for the theme of our live stream. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, an international live stream. We will be bringing panelists from every continent on the globe to partake in this discussion. So Black history, divine consciousness, world mastery. With regards to Black history, just keeping it very, very, very simple, it is absolutely important that, of course, we know as a people of African descent that our beginnings were extremely noble, that we come from a land where we had our own, we had ownership. That's a big word. We had ownership of our own land. We had ownership of our own language. We had ownership of our own God concept. Those of us who are still there have ownership of those three things. For those of us who are in the diaspora, the importance of understanding ownership and being tied to your mother place is absolutely integral to your stability, your spiritual and your mental stability. So we're going to be digging back to look at several thriving metropoles from as far back in antiquity as we possibly can, and bring out those instances of excellence where we were and are controlling our own affairs. So it's a historical look, divine consciousness. Without the acknowledgement of the Creator, it's impossible for us to meet our greatest potential. So again, we'll be borrowing from the legacy of those masters of spirituality, those masters who have written and practiced and led communities towards a greater level of contribution in the world because of their centeredness, their focus on the divine. World mastery. When we speak about world mastery, we're going to be speaking from the standpoint of us mastering those things within ourselves so that the world does not master us. Rather, on the converse, we gain mastery over the world. So this whole idea of world mastery is not only a mantle of responsibility where we are taking our potential, taking the directives from our Creator and exhibiting the best in our character, exhibiting the best in our genius, but it's also learning how to fend off those parts of our character that cause us to go astray, that cause us to be distracted from the goal. So when we speak about world mastery, it's developing our character to the point where we are capable of carrying this responsibility of conscious leadership, of of civic responsibility to the rest of the world. And with that, I want to go right back to our distinguished panelists for a brief conversation on their backgrounds, because it's so important that you understand the co-panelists that are bringing this international live stream to you, and where they come from in their personal experience. So we're going to take a few minutes and go back to Imam Mendez, Imam Dawood, Ustad Yusuf, and give you let them give you a brief perspective on how they've come to be involved in this live stream, what this whole topic means to them, why it's important at this particular time that we're engaged in this conversation, and more importantly, this work. I'm going to bring it back to Imam Mendez.
Thank you again for inviting me to share a few words. My name again is Adeyinka Mohammed Mendes, and Adeyinka is a Yoruba word from the Yoruba people of West Africa. There are about 10 million of them. On my father's side, I'm of Nigerian and Brazilian heritage, hence my last name, Mendes. And on my mother's side, I'm African American, specifically from the people of Louisiana. I was born in Ohio and raised in Ohio, Lagos, Nigeria, Houston, Texas, before I reached adulthood. And something really powerful happened to me when I was in my sophomore, junior year in high school. I met a gentleman who was really my first mentor, my father after my father, Reverend Olu Chapman of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. And he really initiated me into what we call knowledge of self, knowledge of your people, knowledge of your history, a knowledge of your not just your political identity or your gender identity, but knowledge of your spiritual identity with relation to the divine. And that really began an awakening. And I became a voracious reader of Black history, of African history, and it blossomed ultimately into me returning back to Africa as an adult this time, and seeking out some of the masters that you just heard, Dr. Muhammad Mahdi and Imam Dawood Walid and Ustad Yusuf just mentioned, seeking them out so that I could go beyond just reading about these men and women and actually sit at their feet, actually eat with them and break bread with them and learn from them and see how they were governing their lands, how they were adjudicating in their societies, and how they were preserving principles and values that have been passed down for thousands of years by Black people. And I took it upon myself after meeting these luminaries to commit to the same endeavor, that the principles and the values that have brought so much nobility, so much beauty, so much power to the world would not die in my heart, in my mind, but would be passed on to others. And so being true to that, I have decided to partner and collaborate with the men that you've heard from today, so that we can really be a part of this wave of this renaissance of consciousness that's really sweeping the planet at this moment. We have a window. We have a window of opportunity to really turn the tide, to establish a community, establish a society that is built upon a living legacy that always has led to greatness and fairness and love and innovation in every arena you can think of. And so, with that being said, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to our upcoming broadcast.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Imam Dawood, Bismillah. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, my coming together with this group, first, let me tell you something about myself. That I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Later, with my mother, relocated to New York and then Virginia. Both of my parents are African American. At a young age, my father took me overseas when I was about in fifth grade and sixth grade. I spent several months overseas, and during that time, my father was in contact and in discussions with people who were Pan-Africanists, some of them were Muslims, and as well as he was in contact and helping coordinate with people who were resisting the apartheid in South Africa, and particularly the ANC, which at that time, when Nelson Mandela was in prison in Robben Island, was considered to be a terrorist organization, and not just by the South Africans, even President Ronald Reagan called Nelson Mandela and the ANC called them terrorists. Fast forward into my teenage years, how I began to be re-inspired to really read about Africa and its glorious history. My gateway was through the conscious hip hop music of the late 1980s and early 1990s. Seminal groups like Poor Righteous Teachers, rapper Big Daddy Kane, Public Enemy. And I remember this one group called Boogie Down Productions. They had a song called My Philosophy. And in that, Malcolm X was showcased all throughout that video. And there was even a copy on the album cover of KRS-One imitating Malcolm X on the album cover. That is what inspired me to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I also, back in the day when we had vinyl, I listened over and over continuously to those two lectures, L, the Bullet, and Message to Grassroots on vinyl. I learned about Patrice Lumumba in public schools in Chesterfield County, Virginia, but it was Malcolm that introduced me to Lumumba, Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, and those people. And from there, that is when I began to study more about Islam. I read a book relating to the life of Prophet Muhammad, may God bless his soul, in the early 90s. And it was about maybe 27 years ago where I embraced the faith of Islam.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ustad Yusuf, Bismillah.
Yes, I want to say thank you again to our host, Brother Mahdi, and also to my fellow co-panelists. My story with this legacy began early in my life. I came up in an excellent time in the late 80s and the early 90s, coincided with my entering into my teenage years. And during this time in Houston, we had an influx of African-oriented bookstores and shops just popping up all over the place. And very early on, I realized that the curriculum that was being taught in public schools didn't reflect the best of who I was. So Allah gave me the impetus to go out and search on my own to discover who I was and where did I come from. So whatever monies I had, I would ask my parents to take me to these bookstores and shops, and I would buy books about African history. And it opened up a world to me that had been until that time hidden. I had no idea. And I was able to learn about the great empires of Ghana, Mali, and Timbuktu, and Songhai. And also, I was able to read about Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, and learn about Islam, the Nation of Islam, and other Black organizations in America that were founded for the upliftment of our people. Subsequently, in 1993, I was exposed very late, I would say, in my life. I was 17 years old. I was exposed to the autobiography of Malcolm X. And this book for me was a game changer. You know, there were many things in my life that were building me up to this point. Like Dawood said, you know, we had the conscious hip hop music. And so we were hearing things, and it was finding its mark in the heart. You know, listening to groups, like you said, Boogie Down Productions, Public Enemy, and Poor Righteous Teachers. You know, although they were not Muslims themselves, or they may have been a part of a proto-Islamic group, they were delivering Allah's message to the Black community. He was using them to bring Islam to us in a language that we can understand. So when I got the autobiography of Malcolm X and I read it, from there I went straight to the library at my high school and I found a copy of the Quran. And so all of these things that were going on in my life were leading me to this moment. So when I got the Quran, I read maybe about half of it, and I knew that I had to be Muslim, or that I was Muslim. And I took my Shahada. And the reason why I bring up my converting to Islam is because it led me to a new chapter of my life. So by becoming Muslim, I was able to go to the African continent and able to spend time with the Muslims there. I would say in all, if I were to add up the time that I spent on the continent, it would almost equal out to be 9 months of my life during different periods of time. And it's a very important part of our healing process to move from the academic understanding of Africa and reading about the history and learning about our ancestors to actually going there and experiencing what it has to offer. And that's a whole nother level. And Imam Dawood is the most recent person to return from African soil. So I'm sure he has many things to share with us about that. And one thing I would like to add before I sign off is that a lot of people believe that Africa is no longer a place for us, no longer a home for us. We're not accepted there. And I would like to say, as a person who's been there, that that's completely false. And we do have a few instances where a few problems took place, you know, Smokey Robinson incidents and things like that. But those things can be remedied through education, the education of the people in the diaspora and the education of the people on the continent. And we can bring about mutual healing for both of our peoples, and we can move forward to do great things, inshallah ta'ala.
Absolutely fantastic. Awesome. So, Black history, divine consciousness, world mastery. My name is Muhammad Mahdi. I am a product of mixed parentage. My mom is from the States. My father is from Senegal. When I was in my early years, younger elementary years, that was the first time that I really had a remembrance of traveling during the summers on summer break to the continent of Africa. And I can tell you that the contrast, the comparison and contrast for a young man under the age of 10 years old was just amazing. You get a chance to see people that look like you that are in control. Now, you have to realize I'm senior to the group here. I'm the senior to the group here. So I came up in the 60s. So when I went home, it was during the 60s. When I say home, I mean Senegal. When I went home, it was during the 60s. Now, understand that in the United States, having the name Yazid Muhammad Mahdi, being dark as, I mean, black as night, in the 60s in America, traveling to my mother's birthplace in Alabama for reunions as a young child, seeing Jim Crow in segregated restrooms, seeing it. When I went home, it was an amazing contrast, and it would really give me every hope that we could borrow from what I was seeing back home. People who had their own land, people who had their own language, people who had their own God concept, people who, for the most part, were whole. They weren't broken. They weren't shattered. They weren't under, many of the countries surrounding us. Senegal had just, in the last 10 years, in the 50s, won their independence. I lived in a time where the independence struggle for the entire portion of Southern Africa was at the peak. Angola, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, South Africa, all of these countries were in a armed struggle for independence. And so I had high hopes, high aspirations that I could share my jubilance with the people here in the United States who are around me. And so coming up in in this environment where my father's from the continent, my mother's from here, my father is Muslim, my mother is Christian. It gave me an amazing awareness. It gave me a chance to be able to look at the world, the African continent, the United States, Islam, Christianity, spirituality in general, in an amazing way, without bias, right? And so in this live stream, back to the point, what we hope to deliver is a continuous series of positive imagery through the personages that we'll be bringing. We want to have what's called a bridge, a bridge between those African scholars, educators, community activists, engineers, entrepreneurs, world-class leaders that are on the continent. We want to have a connection between those people and those people who are in the diaspora. And we're using this technology. Isn't this an amazing time? We're in an age where at the click of a button, I don't have my phone around because I moved it away so it wouldn't disturb. But at the click of a button, you can connect, mastermind, develop partnerships and alliances with people across continents, like right now. We've probably never had in the physical realm this much ownership over the narrative as we do right now. This is the age of my story marketing, where we have online platforms, tools, and systems to develop our story and present our story to the world in its best light. And so we plan on using this platform as a way to bring that story to the forefront, to put you in touch with educators, to put you in touch with entrepreneurs, to put you in touch with people who have been the holders of a spiritual legacy that goes back into antiquity. right? You've got to understand that. Let's just talk about West Africa for a minute. Let's just talk about the Trans-Sahara just for a minute. These are people of varying tongues who were genius enough to adopt a common language that allowed them to communicate with each other for trade, for education, from one coast to the other coast. They had a written language that we will show you, right? That has been verified, that goes back centuries, all the way to the 7th century. We have a written language where a large number of people on the African continent were using one language as a means of communication, as a means of exchange for goods and services. One language. Isn't it amazing, right? And so that's what this live stream is about. It's an international forum. It's an international discussion platform. It's a way of galvanizing the energy. It's a way of taking your concerns, bringing your questions to the forefront, connecting you with people that you need to be connected with on the continent, so that we build a bigger potential, so that we have more avenues, so that we have a bigger perspective on the world, and that we are tied into people who look like us, right? Who have our best interests at hand, and who are not bound by some of the rules and restrictions that your current location may have over you. So that's our hope. And we're going to take just a few minutes to wrap this up. I'm going to go right back. As a matter of fact, we're just going to open it up for free expression. I'm going to ask all the panelists to just unmute themselves and just have a minute of free expression. We want to let you know before we have our last words and part from you that this is going on. This discussion, this forum, this platform, this live stream series is hosted by Legacy Media Productions, and we'll be having it every last Sunday of the month. Now, if you look below the viewing panel, you're probably going to see a button for it'll say something to the effect of want to see more videos, right? So if you want to see more of the content that we're planning to deliver, in other words, if you want to be subscribed to this live stream and this discussion, go ahead and click that link, get over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you should see to your left, which will be down in this corner, it'll have a Facebook like button. It'll have Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google Plus. Share this out, this live stream right now. Go ahead and hit the Twitter button. If you're on Facebook right now, go ahead and hit the Facebook button. Share this out to your friends so that they can come witness the recording and be ready for the next version, the next episode of this fantastic live stream. So we're excited. We are absolutely pumped to deliver to you the things that we feel are important, and to gain from you those things that you feel are important, so that we can have this healthy exchange and become the best version of ourselves. I'm going to turn it back to our panelists for an open discussion before we leave. Bismillah. Okay, Imam Mendez, since nobody just jumped, Imam Mendez, come on up.
I just want to say how excited I am to be with all of you tonight, and taking one step forward is oftentimes the first thing you have to do to finish a journey. And Mahdi was talking about the importance of this particular moment and the power that we have to communicate, to reach people, to touch hearts and to open minds is like what we've never had before. And as we close today, I'm just thinking about how many of our forebears wished, prayed they had technology that could amplify their voices, that could lift their voices, so that they can be heard on another side of the globe at the speed of now, at the press of a button. We can't allow ourselves to remain divided any longer. We can't allow ourselves to be ignorant of our greatness and our destiny to be great any longer. We have to come together as men, as women, in mutual love and respect if we're going to answer the call of our time. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. If you're watching right now, whenever you're watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching a recording, let us know what city and state you are joining us from. Let us know what country you're in. We are interested in building alliances and partners and a network of like-minded, like-spirited people across the globe. Share this with your contacts, your family and friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit like for us if you enjoy the content, and let us know your comments. Let us know your feedback. If there are subjects, themes that you would like us to cover, if there's a particular guest speaker that's aligned with our vision, let us know in the comments. Have a great night, and I will leave you with the greeting of our ancestors. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
Big shout out to Sister Zakia Alexander, wherever you are.
All right.
Thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. We absolutely acknowledge you, and we absolutely cherish your input here this evening. I'm excited that you were excited enough about what you heard tonight to not only share it with others, but to become a subscriber. So please share the word. I'm going to turn this right to Sidi Daoud.
I'm very excited to be a part of this endeavor, and I ask all of those who are watching right now, be it live or who are going to watch this later on in the recording, to subscribe, but also spread the word to get other people to be involved in this discussion. In conclusion, I want to just reiterate something that Sidi Yusuf said earlier. I was just in Ghana this time last week, and I heard from our brothers and sisters from the Hausa tribe, from the Fulani tribe. They said, come back home. They want us to visit. Some of us said, come back home and live. I went to the city of Tamale, and I met with the sisters from the Dagomba tribe. I actually went and visited them and saw the entire process about how they make shea butter. They're ready for us to come over there and do business to get some wholesale shea butter. The sisters over there working hard with the shea butter. There's all types of the cocoa beans that are used for the coffee. They're grown over there as well in the area of Kumasi. So our brothers and sisters, they want to build with us. They want to have dialogue. They want to discuss issues of spirituality, but they want to do business and trade with their brothers and sisters over here in the Americas. So I'm excited about us having some future conversations, and for us to, God willing, grow together spiritually, intellectually, and as well as economically. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Ustad Yusuf Farouk, Bismillah.
Bismillah. I just want to say thank you to our viewers. Thank you to my co-panelists. And thank you to Sister
Zakia.
Nada.
Oh.
She did some work for us behind the scenes. And we look forward to having you, all of you, with us again next month, the last Sunday of the month. And we want you to share with all of your friends and family, to have them here with us as well. And I thank you. Ajarama.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ajarama. So yes, dear family, as our panelists were sharing with you, you're watching this now live. So do us a favor, down at the 5 o'clock position, the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see share this with friends. So hit the Facebook button if you're on Facebook predominantly. If you tweet, hit Twitter. Subscribe. You want to see more videos, more of this content. Even if you're watching this as a recording, go to that button at the 6 o'clock position where it says want to see more videos. Click there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, it'll be another couple of weeks between now and the time that we share with you again, but we want you as a subscriber on our VIP list. That link isn't activated just yet, but over the next week it will be. So look for that button in the lower right-hand corner. That would be over this way, the lower right-hand corner of this screen, just below the screen, for that VIP to come live. As soon as that comes live, you absolutely want to click on that. Get on our VIP list. You'll get firsthand information about upcoming live events, both nationally and internationally, that you may want to participate in with us. So with that, I know you would like for us to be here for another hour. We just can't. We've got other obligations. We've enjoyed it tremendously. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode, the next session of Black History, Divine Consciousness, World Mastery. On behalf of our distinguished panelists, Imam Muhammad Mendez, Imam Dawood Walid, the distinguished Ustad Yusuf Farouk, and the humble Muhammad Mahdi. We greet you in the name of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We'll see you on the next live stream. Have a good evening.
Assalamu alaikum.